it all over to AJ now.
Thank you, Meghana. Good evening, everyone. Happy Juneteenth. Once again, my name is AJ and I'm the student body president. Again, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate all of you taking your time out of your day for this. What we're doing here is hard. It's uncomfortable, but it's absolutely necessary and very important. As Lonnie will mention later, this university has a unique opportunity and obligation to lead this charge that we have ignored for far too long. Just a quick shout out before I get into the significance of today. Lonnie, Afoma, Will, Charday, Nick, Meghana, and the rest of the team, thank you guys so much for putting this together. Great work. This took a lot out of them, and thank you so much for running this. Choosing this day was no coincidence. What is often overlooked in our history books is the second Independence Day and freedom from tyranny that occurred in this nation, Juneteenth. June 19th, 1865 was the day when the last slaves in Texas were freed, officially marking the end of the Great Terror of slavery. However, while many freed slaves believed that they would finally receive their inheritance of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, Jim Crow took that from them, and mass incarceration took it from their descendants. Having this today reminds us of the work we must do to ensure those principles for Black and Indigenous people and other marginalized communities. None of us are free till we are all free. This town hall is the start of fulfilling the promises of Juneteenth for Black people and marginalized communities. The conversation must start now. Before we begin, I just want to be clear about expectations and ground rules. Per the name, this town hall is about listening to Black people about their struggles and discussing how we will move forward in ensuring William & Mary is inclusive of all people. If you are not about that, you have come to the wrong place. Do not disrupt this conversation and make this a difficult space. Further, any inflammatory comments and various forms of vocal prejudice and discrimination will not be allowed. We reserve the right to remove you from this town hall. But all that to say, for those of you who are here and willing to take on this work with us, we again thank you. SA has worked hard in the past weeks to make this town hall and how to make it inviting and inclusive for everyone. Please express your ideas, your concerns, and your feelings. This is the place for you. I now want to turn it over to Lonnie Wright, our Chief of Staff and Co-President of the Black Student Organization, who will moderate this community discussion. Lonnie.
Hello, as AJ said, I'm Lonnie, and I'm Chief of Staff and Co-President of BSO, and it's lovely to see you all. But while this may have been spurred on by the Black Lives Matter movement, disproportionate police brutality is merely the beginning of the issue. William & Mary has a long history of systemic oppression, from the way it was built with the hundreds of enslaved people to the current micro and macro aggressions that a lot of Black students on this campus experience today. It's embedded in the very structure of our university. The prominence of the Black Lives Matter movement hasn't brought these issues to light because many in minority communities were already well aware of them. It merely brightened those lights and brought them to the national scale so that now people are willing and ready to listen. So while we have your ears, we would like to use this town hall as a platform to promote Black voices. It can be hard to identify with an issue that you have no experience with, that you yourself haven't lived through. Today, we have 3 leaders within the William & Mary community who are willing to share their personal testimonies. And we hope that you take this as an opportunity to not only soak in their life experiences that many of your peers share, but that you also use them as a springboard to question what, but all of the members of the community, I'm sure, have many stories like this. I know myself personally, I have many stories like this. And as Madeline said, many of them aren't with students, they're with professors, they're with faculty. As we transition, it's lovely to hear the testimonies, but we'd also like to hear your feedback on some things that SA is thinking of doing and that are in the works to see how we can tailor them better to suit the needs of the community. So Kyle will be presenting on those now. Vice President. Kyle, whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Lonnie. Thank you everyone for speaking up. And something I'd like to start off with is that for some reason I'm a little more nervous than I'd like to be. And Madeline brought up a really good point, that was the fact that a lot of times we pat ourselves in the back and go, we did it, we're not racist, good for us. And SA has definitely done a lot of things moving, like in the recent history and then moving forward, that have been very good. But I believe that in the past, we had a tendency of doing just that, of doing one simple, very easy thing and then moving forward with it and being like, great, no one in SA is racist. This is awesome. And it's like, we can't just pat ourselves on the back and make ourselves feel good. We have to make the most vulnerable people safe. So with that being said, I'm going to share this presentation with everyone, and we'd love your feedback on ideas that we have moving forward. Oh, I'm dumb. I didn't share my screen. Oops. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Anyone? Should I go with yes? I should check myself actually.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. Okay, so the buck stops here. I cannot pretend to understand the Black experience, but I want to acknowledge and check my own privilege. I want to use my voice and platform as your representative to ensure that our most vulnerable voices are heard within the administration. AJ, Lonnie, and I want to ensure that this is SA's main goal and that we foster a relationship with marginalized communities and of safety and transparency. That all starts with dialogue. Dialogue is the first step in education. The more we talk about difficult topics like finance, mental health, religion, sexuality, race, etc., the more clear ideas can be when presenting them to admin. Open dialogue ensures that the voices of the people we're trying to represent are being justly and correctly represented. We're dealing with a system that requires you to do absolutely nothing in order to perpetuate itself. So it's SA's duty to do something. To quote AJ, this is a marathon, and let's train for one. We have to learn how to talk about these topics while being respectful and kind to each other. We have to be respectful of people's feelings, specifically focusing on those facing the reality of oppression every single day. These discussions are exhausting, but we must continue the dialogue whilst being considerate, open, and thoughtful to those most affected. We can't keep delivering empty promises to slap on a Band-Aid and make us feel good about ourselves. This is about tangible change that can and will live on to make our campus safe and more inclusive. Diversity and inclusion doesn't have an end goal or date. It's a conversation that needs to happen constantly. Not only do we need to always be having this conversation, but the plan has to be revised as we move forward and different situations call for different demands. So just a quick update on Black Voices on Instagram. SA's Instagram was compiled by a plethora of Black student experiences on campus, and I am so grateful and so thankful for everyone that was courageous enough to speak up. I encourage everyone to check that out, and also the project was done yesterday, and if you go to our page and see the most recent post, I believe Celeste, who is a SA rep, posted some of the action items that we're going to be working on. So I encourage everyone to check that out. Reparations Committee. We began the Reparations Committee, and through this, we realized that there were not enough Black voices in the room. We want to hear different voices. This is a conversation committee that needs Black voices to contribute. We'd like to present a new structure for this. So prior to recently, we only had one committee. We'd like to create two committees, one that is SA affiliated and one that is student ran, in order to have more people contributing to the conversation. In the one that is SA affiliated, we'd like to have a more accessible pathway into the committees. What that would look like is that the chair sends an invitation to an interested member and they become a member at large with voting rights. Police Policy Project. AJ, Lonnie, and I met with Williamsburg PD and WMPD this past week, and some of the things that we found from our meeting was that WMPD recently actually changed their badge, and why that's so important is because there needs to be a way for students to distinguish who is WMPD, who is Williamsburg PD, and who is James City County PD, because they represent different ideologies, and it's on us to ensure that we all become one. But until then, it's for our safety that we know who is who. And Officer Cheeseborough said that she's even open to changing it even further than just a badge. WMPD said that they're now considering routine diversity initiative training. Williamsburg PD said that they're down to create advisory groups. Next is data collection. The importance of data collection. The police department, nor Williamsburg, nor WMPD have a pretty thorough data collection. Williamsburg PD does not release whether or not an infraction was placed on a student or a non-student, and WMPD does not release any information on whether or not on a student's race or ethnicity. We found out that there was no reason as to why that was, but it's a tangible goal that we want to work with. Our ideas are developing ideas for diverse police recruitment, analyzing, adjusting, and creating small trainings that will tailor diversity and inclusion training to William & Mary and the surrounding Williamsburg community. Diversity and initiative training, including neurodiversity and other marginalized groups. Let's ensure that the police is not targeting students of color. We'd like to have Black organizations and multicultural organizations meet with Williamsburg PD and WNPD and foster a relationship between the two. The best thing we can do is to get to know each other. Moving forward is the student rights awareness. Students at William & Mary come from different states, countries, and regions in Virginia. Laws and regulations change so much from place to place that's crucial that students know their rights. We propose an idea that is, right now, it's still in the starting phases, but right now the idea is a small index-like card that has your main rights that you should know when stopped by a police officer. Academic Diversity Project. Diversity and initiative standardization. We must ensure that professors implement race and ethnicity studies within the curriculum. Student engagement at all levels are important to help select diverse faculty. That means hiring boards, department heads, and class additions. It's important that our professors are teaching us things that aren't just Western education. An example that Lonnie and I have personally experienced is Western philosophers in the philosophy department. I don't think I've learned about anyone who isn't from Europe or America. How we can keep change going. Ask a diversity and inclusion statement from each coming candidate. Implicit bias trainings for new and current faculty. A new diverse faculty network. We need to start a campaign oriented towards faculty promoting diversity and inclusion within their classroom and office spaces. We need to work on continuous retainment of faculty of diverse backgrounds. We cannot allow that the few diverse professors and faculty that we do have leave because of X or Y reason. Future efforts. SA needs to definitely work on our transparency and communication. Because of that, we want to use student happenings way more. Feedback forms on the SA website. Surveys are going to become our best friend. And for the time being, we'd like to attach our feedback form to our Instagram and Facebook bios. We have two future ideas coming up. One of them, it's a little bit still underdeveloped, and Arsen and I were actually talking about it this morning, but we just like to make it very clear that the African Americans Enslaved Memorial is not going to get done. That's one of our main priorities, and we want to ensure that that's still happening and that the funds are being allocated correctly for that, and they're being found in a timely manner. In the meantime, we have an idea that I can't drop just yet, but fingers crossed for that one. And the other one is a speaker series. This speaker series, and let me just read you the summary. After the vicious murder of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Sean Reed, George Floyd, Tony McDade, and countless other Black Americans, cities around the country and even the world called for reform in American police operation. Many Americans protested, raising their voices against the injustice that Black Americans face in their normal lives. In an effort to educate the William & Mary community and beyond, the Student Assembly, in conjunction with the Student Bar Association, offer a speaker series on social reform. The intent of this series is to create a safe space to educate the community on the world Black Americans face every day, how we can better that world, and how we can all maintain our health and safety in this extraordinary time of change. That's just our summary, and also wait out for more information on that. Finally is incorporating wellness. I would like to drop the William & Mary Counseling Center, the little ad that they added right there in campus resources. People can reach out to Felicia, the Assistant Director of Research, Evaluation, and Outreach at the William & Mary Counseling Center if anyone has any questions. Attached is a video that we're not going to play right now just because Zoom gets really tricky with videos, but I recommend that all of you watch it and look at different portions of the video because it talks about something called BEAM, which stands for the Black Emotion and Mental Health Collective. This provides mental health resources for Black people from Black people and contains training, links to articles, and more. And this is something that our mental health initiative team has been talking about implementing in Will and Mary. So after the presentation, I'm gonna be dropping that link in the chat. Finally, just a thank you for listening to me. And I'd quickly like to give a thank you to Sam, Key, Lonnie, AJ, Celeste, and Will for helping me with this PowerPoint. And like Megan has said, please fill out the Google form for the speakers list that I can send again as well. And that's it for me today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cal, for the presentation. Of course, if you have any questions about anything that was mentioned, we'll be happy to answer them. But I do want to emphasize that this is not a Q&A. This is an open discussion. I believe Meghana is dropping the speakers list link again. So if you want to speak, anyone can speak. Just click the link. All you do is type in your name so that they know to call on you, just to make it more efficient. So yeah.